Hey FlossTube, this is Brian, otherwise known as blitstitch, both here on YouTube and on Instagram. Welcome back. This is my 6th video, and it is going to be an update on my September stitching and also talking about my October plans. But first of all, I want to thank everybody for watching, for giving me your time. Thank you for subscribing. Thank you for your comments. I have really appreciated all of the comments that you have made, especially on the last video that I did, which was a show and tell about how I stitch diagonally. I really appreciate that because I was really nervous about posting that video because I was afraid that I'd get too geeky and that you would have a hard time understanding the things that I was trying to say, or that you'd be bored by all of that technical stuff. And based on some of the feedback that I've received, it sounded like it was well received. If you did not enjoy that video, if you found it boring, or if you had a hard time understanding what I was trying to say, I apologize. Now, I'm not fishing for comments. I'm just kind of expressing some of the fears that I had when I posted that video. I didn't want to call it a tutorial because I didn't want to make it sound like I was telling you that this was the only way to stitch. And of course, you're free to try my methods or just ignore what I said. That's up to you. I was just showing you why I stitch the way I stitch and how I do it. And I've noticed that there have been several people who in their videos have mentioned me, and also several people that I've seen on Instagram that have started trying to stitch diagonally, and I find that awfully flattering and a little bit nerve-wracking because I'm afraid you're gonna try it and just get really frustrated and say, oh, that Brian, he doesn't know what he's talking about. But so I hope that as you try it, those of you who are trying it, I hope that you enjoy it. I hope that it improves your stitching like it has mine. And I hope you have a good experience with it. So the first thing I want to talk about is a couple of general updates. In my last video, I showed you a project bag that I made to fit my scroll frame. That project bag fits my 70 centimeter Omanique scroll frame, and I have 90 centimeter scroll bars as well, so I had to make another bag. And so this is my project bag that I made this month. I got the fabric at Hobby Lobby, and it's basically all the planets. I really like it. I like the brightness of the colors with the black background. And I had hoped to use, I wanted to use this color for the lining, but I couldn't find that color fabric. So instead, I made a lining with this kind of, I don't know, I'm not very good at naming colors, but teal, aqua, green lining. The zipper is also the same color as the lining. And I'm actually really a lot happier with the way this bag turned out. You're not going to be able to see it. It's kind of hard to see the whole bag because it's so wide. But my zipper is in a lot straighter, and I top stitched the fabric, and that makes it look a lot neater as well. So I'm really happy with that. Putting these bags together is kind of nerve-wracking for me because I can't even seem to cut a perfectly rectangular material. So the way that you construct them is you sew the fabric to the zipper, and then you sew the bag. And it seems like every time that I sew the fabric to the zipper, when I go to stick to put everything together, nothing's straight. No matter how hard I try, everything's a little bit ski-wampus. And so then I have to kind of fudge so that I get a straight seam all the way around. And I feel like I'm wasting room with my fabric because I have to have a greater seam allowance than I would like. And every time I think this is going to be a disaster. But when I turn everything right side out, it always looks good. So somehow it miraculously works. I'm really happy with that bag. So the other thing that I want to do is, well, let's talk about what I worked on. So last time the last project that I was working on when I was doing my video last time was Autumn Magic. And after my video, I worked on it a little bit more. So I'm going to show you Autumn Magic again. Of course, this is what it will look like when it is finished. It is a design by Randal Spangler, as charted by Heaven and Earth Designs. I am stitching this on 25 count Lugana, doing 1/1 full cross. And I think the last time I talked about this, I said, I'm really starting to like it. And in fact, I was liking it so much that I had a hard time putting it down. And I thought, well, I think I really want to stitch on it some more because I'm getting close to the house. I want to see the house start to appear. And so I decided to tweak my rotation. And I thought, well, I'm gonna stitch on Autumn Magic every 3 weeks. That'll give it more time. Maybe it'll help me accomplish more. Maybe it'll help me feel like I'm gonna finish it sometime before I die. So I did that, and that turned out to be a mistake because I put it down, and then 2 weeks later I picked it up and worked on it for another week. And by the time I finished that last week, I'd had it with this piece again. I think part of the reason was I'd worked on it 3 of the last 5 weeks, so I was really getting bored with it, and I had a couple of problems that I'll talk about. But first of all, I'm going to insert a picture of what it looked like the last time you saw it. So I'll do that first. I'm getting ahead of myself. And this is what it looks like now. So I've been able to do about another diagonal, and part of what discouraged me, well, first of all, I'll show you this. This is kind of cool. On the chart, I saw this black coming up, and I thought there's like a couple of columns that come up here, and there's stairs up onto the porch that goes around the house. And I saw that black, and I thought, oh, I'm going to finally hit the columns on the stairs. And then I stitched it, and I said, that doesn't look like a column. And I got looking at it a little bit closer, and it's a cat. There's a cat there. And I thought, I don't remember seeing a cat in the picture. So I went back and looked at the picture, and sure enough, there's a little cat right down by the stairs. So that was a surprise to see that cat show up while I was stitching it. So that's kind of one of the good things that happened. This piece up here, there are so many colors in there. That's like one of the most confetti heavy blocks I've ever stitched. And that really kind of discouraged me because it was like 2 hours to stitch those 100 stitches. Oh, it was awful. And then I got down here, and everything got so tight that I couldn't even hardly bring my needle up through the fabric. It got to be a real mess, and it was just a real pain to stitch that last block. So that just really turned me off. So right now this is it's been a week since I've worked on this, and I'm starting to feel a little bit better about it, but I don't know, I came really close to just saying, okay, that's it, I've had it. But I don't think I have yet. I'm going to talk about a couple of other things. You'll notice these things, people on Instagram have been asking me what these are. These are waist knots, and this is what I'm using to start and end my threads. And they're kind of nice because I can start and stop easily without having to turn my project over and running my needle back through the back of my stitches. It's kind of a time saver. But the disadvantage is you start a thread and then you go over, and then when you finish you come back. And so where there's a lot of these waist knots, there's also a lot of threads going across the back of my project. And I think that's what happened down here, is I had so many threads coming back across that it just got really tight. And I'm going to link to Vanna Pfeiffer, the Twisted Stitcher. She did a video on doing pinhead stitches, and she talked about how to do them if you're stitching over one. And that really kind of interested me because I wanted to get rid of doing these waist knots. So I've started doing that. And so you'll see my waist knots are starting to disappear. So that's cool. That's a cool thing. The other thing is I'm starting to think that I'm stitching this wrong. And the reason why I say that is there's another YouTuber, I think her channel's named Nikki's Crafts, and she's just amazing at how, I'm amazed at how much she's able to stitch. She works, she's working on a Stitch in Time, and she's stitched so much of that. And she has another design that she's doing over one. And she talks about how with these designs, she says that she starts stitching and then the design kind of dictates the way that she moves through it. And I'm beginning to think that that stitching diagonally is kind of working against the way that the colors run. So I'm thinking that through here, the colors are actually running this way. They're running horizontally. And I'm thinking maybe I need to start stitching horizontally. But I can't do that with all these waist knots here. So what I'm planning to do is I'm planning on finishing this diagonal, stitching another diagonal to do these waist knots. And then I think I'm going to try working horizontally across like this. Also, there's another Noella. She's a new YouTuber. She just barely started posting floss tube videos, and she did a video that talks about how she works horizontally down a column, and that kind of got me thinking that maybe instead of working 100 blocks, maybe I need to work 200 or 300 blocks at a time. So that I'm not maybe that'd cut down on the number of times that I have to thread my needle. I don't know. So I'm kind of considering ways to approach this differently, to try to get more progress. I am just amazed at some of you that just are able to stitch these. I see like Davina. She stitches a page in like 2 or 3 days. I've been working on this, not constantly, but I started this about 1.5 years ago, and I finished one page, and I think with these diagonals, I may have stitched about another page, so maybe 2 pages. And I'm just amazed at how people are able to stitch these so much faster than I am. So I don't know. So I'm back on the fence with that. We'll see what happens. I'm still going to give it a try and see what happens. The next piece that I worked on was my Verandas of South Battery. This is a design by Graphs by Barbara and Cheryl. This is what it looks like. It's a street scene in Charleston, South Carolina. I'm stitching it on 32 count platinum even weave. And I'll insert a picture of what it looked like the last time. And this is what it looks like now. So I'm going to grab my park threads and I'm going to fold this so that we can look. I stitched a lot of the blue house. Let's see, so that the colors come in. Okay. You'll see there's a palm tree now that's starting to appear. And I got quite a bit of this blue house done. I'm actually, that lower part of the diagonal, that's actually getting close to the edge of the house. So I think the next time that I stitch this, I think the next time that I stitch this, that I'll be able to finish the blue house, which is exciting. Then I'll only have 2 houses left, and they're smaller. So I've got a couple of pieces that I think I'm finally starting to see the end. I'm not going to be able to finish them this year, but I'm pretty confident that I'm going to be able to finish them next year. The next piece that I worked on was Winter Sampler. This is a design by Sandy Orton, and I guess I better hold it right side up. This is a design by Sandy Orton from Kooler Design Studio. People have asked me a couple of questions about this, and just so you know, this is available as a kit from Jan Lin, or it's also available as a PDF download from the Kooler Design Studio website. I have the PDF download, so I'm not working with the kit. I'm not working with the kit. So I'm stitching this on 28 count tea-dyed Monaco. It's the tube that you can buy at Hobby Lobby, and I'm stitching it with DMC, of course. And this is what it's looking like. Man, I'm having a hard time holding things. Just a minute. I'm going to fold this a little bit to try to hold it better. So I got more. I'm up to 6 on the countdown banner. This diamond ski scene is almost finished. There's only like 3 or 4 more stitches in that diamond ski scene, which I'm excited about. That's probably my least favorite part of the design, so I'll be glad to have that finished. And then I'm starting to see more of Santa and more of the gingerbread man. Santa's pretty confetti heavy. He's kind of a pain to stitch. And the mistletoe over by that is really confetti heavy, and it also spans 4 pages. So moving back and forth between the pages to stitch, that was a real pain. You probably can't see it, but I've also started stitching. There's a picture of a snowman that sits behind the picture of Santa, and I'm starting to see that as well. Also, I mentioned this in my show and tell, but I've stitched a little bit of the snow that's part of the winter skating scene. So I'm pretty happy with how this is looking as well. I think that I'm going to be able to finish that next year, at least the cross stitching. I'll probably be back stitching for another year after that. Not really, but it might feel that way. The next piece that I worked on, this is what I worked on this last week, is Red by Mirabilia. I'm stitching this on 32 count French lace linen. And I'll insert a picture of what it looked like the last time you saw it. And this is what it looks like now. So I have really enjoyed working on this week. She stitches up so much faster than some of the other things I work on, because a lot of her is just straight blocks of color. So I've been able to accomplish quite a bit. So you'll see I'm starting to see her arm now. And this dress is starting to this dress is starting to really appear. And you'll notice, I mentioned this before, but this part here is, there's like water lilies, variegated water lilies in here. And I don't want the variegation to show up in diagonals. So I'm stitching those horizontally. So you'll see that there's a little bit of a difference here. But I just really like how this is turning out. But I've got a confession to make. I'm gonna confess one of my sins. So down here, right about here, I carried black from here to here, and I've never had problem with this before, so I guess this is a learning experience. But now that I look at this, I can see the black through the back. And I think part of the reason for that is this is the water lilies. The water lilies seems to be a little bit finer than DMC. And I think it's not covering as well as the DMC does. And so I can see that black. And I'm not going to do anything about it right now. I think I'm trying to decide how much it irritates me, because I don't think anybody else would see it except for a judge at a cross-stitch exhibition. So I'm trying to decide if it irritates me enough to make me, and maybe, you know, I'm beginning to think that I'm going to have to rip all of this out and fix it so that I don't see that black back there, which is kind of a pain. But other than that, oh, she just looks she's starting to look like a person. It's starting to look like a woman. I just, when I took her out of my scroll bar so I could see the whole thing tonight, I was just like, oh, she looks wonderful. So the last piece that I worked on this month, is I've been working on this one day a week, and this is it's called the Season Sampler. It's a design by Abi Gurden of Bees Needleworks. She is releasing, it's a stitch along, so she's releasing one part a month. I started behind, so I've been trying to get caught up, and then part 8 was supposed to be released today, but evidently Abby's had a hard time getting it uploaded onto the file section of the mailing list where she's releasing it. So I don't have part 8. The last time I worked on this, I was only able to put in the words for part 7 because I didn't have time. So I was going to wait and do part 7 and finish part 7 and do part 8 together. And I was kind of hoping to do it today, but I don't have it. So it's going to wait. But this is what I've done. I really like this. This has been fun. Those flowers under summer, the roses, those are spiderweb roses. They turned out really cool. I love those bees. The Queen Stitch strawberries, the fuchsias, those purple fuchsias. It's really cool. So I really like how this is turning out. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to wait till I see part 8. And when I see part 8, I'm going to do part 7 and part 8 together. And then I'll be all caught up, which is, I'm pretty happy about that. And I'll talk about why in a little bit. So I guess I'll talk about that now. So I'm going to show you my graphs again. So these are my graphs for September. And before I talk about them, September has felt really weird to me. I felt like I've stitched every night, but I don't feel like I've made the same amount of progress that I've made other times. I wanted to do more of the blue house and verandas. It felt like I didn't quite do as much as I usually do there. And then the same thing happened to me in Winter Sampler. I only did a couple of diagonals in Winter Sampler, and I'm usually able to do more. And Autumn Magic, the same thing. I mean, even that week, that extra week, I only got one more diagonal in. And Autumn Magic, part of the reason for that is that my diagonals are getting so long that I can't stitch a diagonal in a week now, I think. And Winter Sampler, maybe that's the same thing that's happening there. And the data kind of proves my feelings. So this is the number of days that I stitched. You'll see this none. There was only one day in September I didn't stitch. Everything else looks good. I stitched the Season Sampler for four days, which is 1 day a week. And then this is the number of stitches that I put in on each thing. And that looks, I mean, that looks not too bad. The average number of stitches, and actually my Automagic is showing a better average than it did the previous month. But here's what's really interesting. I did a graph that shows my trend for the entire year. And the bars are the number of stitches that I did in a month, and the line is the number of days that I stitched in a month. You'll see the number of days is right up there, right where it should be. I mean, I stitched almost every day, but the number of stitches, that is low compared to everything else. Now, part of the reason why is, like, on this month, a lot of what I was working on had big empty spaces, and I talked about how you have to kind of take the number of stitches with a grain of salt here. Part of it is, I think part of the reason why this is also is working on that season sampler. I think that's taken a day away from working on my other projects, and I think that's pulled the number of stitches down. Also, I've had a lot going on this month. I've been able to stitch every night, but there have been nights when I've only been able to stitch an hour, or maybe so. So I think that's also had an effect. It's almost like summer vacation, school starts, and even though I've only got one kid in school, that's like pulled me down. So, so here are my plans for October. I kind of hesitate making plans because it seems like as soon as I broadcast what my plans are, I tweak them. So, I mean, this is what I'm planning right now. They may change without notice. But so this week I'm going to work on English Garden Sampler by Teresa Wentzler. I've been stitching the border. I'm down here, and I am hoping to finish the border and maybe start working on something on the inside. But I'll be so excited to get that border done. The next thing I'll be working on is Corazon Sampler. I've stitched almost all of this up here, so now I'm going to start working down. And I've just been aching to the past couple weeks. I've been aching to stitch this. It's been really calling me. It's been feeling really neglected. So I'll be excited to stitch on this. The next week, I'll be stitching And a Forest Grew. I've stitched just this little corner down here. I'm gonna start working across this way, and this is another one that's been calling me. It's really feeling neglected. And in fact, I know that the week that I'm going to be stitching this, I know there's going to be 2 nights that week that I'm not going to be able to stitch. So I may work on this part of the next week as well. And so that'll be the end of what I'm calling my rotation. And then after I come to the end of the rotation, I am going to go into finish mode. I have 2 pieces that I want to finish before I start my rotation again. And they shouldn't take too long. So I'm hoping a week, maybe 2 weeks, I'll be doing this. The first one is this Mallard. I talked about how I didn't love stitching this, right? But I want to finish it just so I don't have to, in a year, think, oh, I wish I'd stitched that. I don't want to have second thoughts about it. So I'm planning on stitching this until it's done. And I think it should only take about a week. I'm about halfway through. It took me a week to get that far, so it should take me about a week to finish. And so that should be okay. And then this, my family tree, that's this right here that I'm working on for my parents' 50th. this is starting to hang over my head like the sword of Damocles. So I'm going to finish this. All I have to do really is backstitch in all the letters and then do the ribbon embroidery. So I don't think this will take too long to finish as well. I think that's part of the reason why it's just really starting to weigh on me. So I'm planning on finishing that. And I've come to the conclusion that that'll bring me down to 8 whips. That's 8 pieces I'm working on. And that's starting to feel like it's too much, just because, like I say, I have pieces that are just like screaming because they are not getting any attention. And I'm sure that when I get to the end of my rotation, that I'm going to have the pieces that I worked on this month are going to be screaming at me again. So that makes me think my rotation's too big. So I think I'm going to kind of work on shrinking the number of pieces that I'm working on. It'll take me a while to do that. I think I've got 3 pieces that I'm working on that I'm going to be able to finish sometime next year. And when I finish them, I may not add anything in. I don't know. It's like I go back and forth between I want to finish or I'm just going to stitch and finish as it happens. And I have a hard time balancing those two things. So right now I'm in the mode of I want to see something finished. So that's kind of weighing on me a little bit more. We'll see what happens. So those are my plans for October. And that's about all I have. Thanks for watching. Thanks for giving you your time to watch me. Thank you once again for subscribing and liking and commenting. Feel free to do that below. If you have any questions or any comments, feel free to make those in the comments below. I'll put in all the details about all the projects that I'm working on. Also, I'll put in a link to all of the channels that I mentioned. And so all that information will be down below. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll talk to you in about a month. Goodbye.